Hello, everybody. Okay, today we're going to look at Sefer Devarim. We're going to look at Parshat Devarim, and we're going to try and analyze some of the psukim over there. And from there, we're going to try and see how Parshat Devarim and Sefer Devarim as a whole relates to Tisha B'Av, specifically within the 3 weeks. And we will try and put it all together in a couple minutes over here. Okay, so to begin, we're going to start off reading some of the psukim that start off Sefer Devarim. And from there, we will analyze them further. Okay, so Sefer Devarim starts off. Ela Dvarim asher diber Moshe al kol Yisrael be'ever hayardain bamidbar barava mol suf ben paran ben tofel belavan v'chatzerot v'di zahav. So right away, Sefer Devarim starts off. Ela Hadvarim. These are the things, the matters. They are the matters that Moshe is telling over to Bnei Yisrael. He is telling over to them all these important matters before they enter into Eretz Yisrael. Meaning that after 40 years in the Midbar, Bnei Yisrael is on the brink. They're about to enter into Eretz Yisrael. They're about to conquer it. And Moshe is sitting them down, telling them over this speech, and showing them this is what should be done. After 40 years in the Midbar, Moshe is telling them over this message. Rashi right away on the pasuk of Elad Dvarim comments that Elad Dvarim fish hen divrei tochachot. Rashi says that Dvarim is understood to be lashon tochacha. It's understood to be a matter of rebuke. Tochacha is a way of showing that Moshe is explaining to Bnei Yisrael, this is what must be done. Rebuke might not be the best word, it's more Moshe giving them guidance. He's telling them what they did wrong and explaining to them, this is what needs to be done before you enter into Eretz Yisrael. You have to reorient yourselves. So what we're going to try and do in this short little chabura over here is we're going to try and show how Parshat Devarim and Sefer Devarim as a whole is very much connected to the 3 weeks. It's connected to Tisha B'Av. And for the reason that just as Moshe is giving almost a sense of Musar, or he's giving over to Bnei Yisrael, this is what must be done when you enter into Eretz Yisrael, he's giving them guidance. So too, in the period of 3 weeks, we in a sense are receiving these messages and we're able to internalize them and help with our own self-reflection, leading to ultimately the point of Tshuva we will reach by Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur time, but it's start of a process that starts on Tisha B'Av, and we're continuing that process all the way through the ensuing next couple of months. Okay, so now that we've seen the beginning of Sefer Devarim over here, we're going to highlight some key psukim and sort of see how this message is developed. Okay, so the psukim continue discussing all the different travels that Bnei Yisrael had in the Midbar, Vayhi Bar B'im Hashanah. They were in the Midbar for 40 years, and all these different travels they had, Pnus U, they went across all these different lands. Okay, after that quick summary, we're going to look at Pasuk Hey over here, where it mentions Be'ever Hayardain, Be'eretz Moav, in these places, Hoil Moshe Be'er the Torah Hazot Lemor. Moshe is beginning, Hoil Be'er the Torah Hazot Lemor. He's beginning to explain the Torah. He's giving a biur of sorts. Moshe is telling over these important dvarim, these matters regarding the Torah to Bnei Yisrael in the Midbar at the end of the 40 years. So this is really the introduction to what is going to happen in the rest of Sefer Devarim, where it really is a set of speeches by Moshe explaining this message that Hashem wants to relay over and give over to the nation before entering into Eretz Yisrael. He's reorienting them, giving them guidance. Okay. So Moshe continues in this sense and explains all the different travels that Bnei Yisrael had in the Midbar and all the different, so to speak, stories that occurred where Bnei Yisrael had shoftim that were appointed through Moshe. And the parsha really continues. We're going to look now at Pasuk Chaf Aleph and sort of see a central message. Pasuk says, "V'ei natat Hashem Elokecha lefanecha et haaretz." See, Hashem has given the land before you. So Eretz Canaan is right before Bnei Yisrael. They're about to enter into it. Alei Reish, go ahead and conquer it. Go up and conquer it. Kasher diber Hashem Elokei avotecha lach, al tira val techat. Moshe is telling Bnei Yisrael this message. Hashem is telling you, do not fear, al tira val techat. Do not have any fear, no trembling. There should be nothing to be afraid of. You will be able to conquer the land. Moshe is guaranteeing to Bnei Yisrael. Hashem is showing Bnei Yisrael that this land is theirs for the taking. All they have to do is follow Hashem's guidelines, as we'll see. Now, Moshe in his speech, he's really an excellent speech giver, in the sense that when Moshe is giving over the speech to Bnei Yisrael, he addresses all the key points. And one of the essential ideas, or one of the main ideas Moshe is really driving home and explaining is that Bnei Israel, when they made mistakes in the Midbar, they were in the Midbar for 40 years and they made mistakes. Throughout all those journeys, Moshe is showing that despite all this, you can still enter into the land. The new generation will enter into the land, and they need to have this guidance. So Moshe is going to go through all the stories that occurred in the Midbar, and in Parshat Devarim, it's almost repeating them, but in a sense, it's giving a new message to them. It's reinstating them. It's giving them a new purpose to explain to Bnei Israel before they enter into Eretz Israel what to do. And we're going to see exactly what's going on. We always read Parshat Devarim, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. So because for that reason, that it's a sense of guidance, perhaps. It uses similar words. It uses Eicha. But of course, it's a similar sense of guidance that we have heading into Tisha B'Av, where we have this point of self-reflection, a day of self-reflection, and as well with regard to Sefer Devarim, with regard to Bnei Israel's own journeys and their everlasting message to us. So that's what we'll try and see. So we'll keep going over here. Anyway, right immediately after Hashem promises to Bnei Israel that they will be able to enter into the land without any problems, Bnei Israel continues V'tikirvun Elai. They approach Moshe, Kulchem, all of them. V'tomer nishlachan anashim lefanenu v'yichparu lanu et haaretz. Bnei Israel requests to send out spies, the Meraglim, to investigate the land, to see if it is good or not. Bnei Israel, in a sense, is showing their lack of trust. And for that reason, the Meraglim incident had bad results. Bnei Israel did not pass the test in that sense. Once again, Hashem reinstates to them, V'amar lechem, lo tartzum v'lo tir'un mehem. Do not have any fear of these nations that you're going to be conquering when you enter into Eretz Canaan. The land will be given to yours. Hashem lokechem ha'olech lifnechem, hu yilachim lachem. Hashem will fight the wars in a sense for you. He will support you. K'chol asher asa itchem v'mitzrayim leinechem. Just like as there were all these miracles by the Yam Suf, the Mitzrayim, and all the Makot, Bnei Israel will be guaranteed victory also if they enter into Eretz Canaan, but only if they have the proper mindset. And that's the key point. So once again, Bnei Israel made this mistake. And Moshe is showing them that just because he made the mistake with the Meraglim and all these other mistakes, those mistakes were there for lessons for you to learn from. And now that you're about to enter into land as a new generation, now you should be able to reinstate these messages. They should be reinforced. They should be central in your minds. So when you enter into the land, you could have this mindset properly set. Okay, which is why the Psukim continue. And they discuss how this generation that did not believe in Hashem fully, meaning that they failed in a certain sense, and they made mistakes. Now it's a new generation. And after these 40 years in the Midbar, Hashem says, no one from this previous generation will see the lands of Eretz Canaan, but however, the next generation will, and they'll be led by Kalev ben Yefuneh, and also Yeshua ben Nun, we will see. And these two leaders will help them conquer the land, and they will have this new mindset. And Moshe is leaving them with this message of what to do. Now we're going to continue at a faster pace over here, and we're going to see one more mistake that Bnei Israel made in the Midbar was with the Ma'apilim, those that went up, and immediately after the Meraglim incident in Parshat Shlach, after the spies were sent out, and Bnei Israel was told they would be in the Midbar for 40 years, these group of people, a small group, nonetheless, they were all killed when they tried to go out and wage war. They went to battle against the nations in the area. They thought that they would go right into Eretz Israel, but they did not go with Hashem. And for that reason, the Psukim continue that this Ma'apilim incident, where Bnei Israel goes ahead and tries to conquer the land, Hashem tells them, "V'adaber alechem v'lo shmatem, v'tamru et pi Hashem, v'tazidu v'talu ahara." They were Ole Hahara, they were Talu Ahara, but this part of the nation went up and they tried to conquer the land. And they failed for that reason, and they were wiped out, as the next pasuk says, they were destroyed. But Bnei Israel went without Hashem. And they went ahead, they said that Na'alev v'nilchamnu, we will go ahead and we will wage war. But they had the wrong mindset. And Moshe is now showing Bnei Israel they had the wrong mindset there, and they made a mistake, and now it's time to learn from it. The new generation can learn from it. They can have positive results. Okay, that is what Sefer Devarim is. And a lot of key lines in Sefer Devarim itself, a lot of loaded messages in every single pasuk. It really is something significant, very special. Okay, and as well, we can see in Perek Kalam at the end of Sefer Devarim where this overall idea is encapsulated, is really shown. Hashem says, I placed before you the good and the bad, what is considered to be life and what is considered to be death. And after all these psukim, Hashem says, Sefer Devarim is really all about the ubacharta v'chayim, choosing chayim, in the sense that doing what is proper. And Bnei Yisrael has to get into this mindset, and I think we all also should try and be able to tune into this mindset of getting into b'charta v'chayim and choosing what is proper. And that is following Hashem's guidelines, and they are laid out specifically in Sefer Devarim and the Torah as a whole, and Sefer Devarim is reinstating them. Now we're going to try and look quickly. That was maybe part one of the shir. We're going to try and now look at the rest of Parshat Devarim, the start of Parshat Va'etchanan, and see how this goal or this mission of Moshe to express Hashem's will, that Bnei Yisrael should be able to enter into the land of the proper mindset, is really played out. So with no further ado, we're going to go through some more psukim and show what they are doing. In Pasuk Hey, we are discussing how Bnei Yisrael is told not to go into certain nations' land. They're not going to cross over these lands, and they will not need to go through all these different battles. And the psukim continue saying that for these 40 years in the Midbar, Bnei Yisrael were not lacking a thing, and now they're going to have this moment where they're going to have to attack the other nations. And they will have to get into wars. It will not be an easy process conquering the land. It will be a long process. But Bnei Yisrael is guaranteed by Hashem that as long as they act properly, then it will be guaranteed that they'll have a victory. If they're acting b'derech Hashem, then they will be able to conquer Eretz Yisrael fully. And that is what Moshe is passing on to this next generation. Okay, the next generation is about to enter into the land, and Hashem says, Hayom hazeh achel titpachtecha v'yiratzcha. Moshe is expressing this through Hashem. I'll translate that. Moshe is saying, now the other nations will be able to fear you. They'll see your might. And your fear will be upon them. They will be scared of you, and therefore you will be able to conquer them. And they will tremble before you. And it's a guarantee that as long as you follow the proper ways, like we said, then they'll be able to conquer these lands. And they'll be able to conquer these nations. And that is the rest of the parak over there, leading us to parak Gimel. And now we're going to try and see a central theme. The pasuk over here says, "V'yomer Hashem Elai al tira oto ki v'yadcha natati oto et kol amo." Just like we saw in pasuk Chaf Aleph in parak Aleph, that al tira al techat. This repetition of the phrase al tira is central to this part of Sefer Devarim, where Hashem is saying to Bnei Yisrael, al tira, act properly, follow my ways, and lead a life of derech Hashem, and then you will be guaranteed that you'll be able to enter into the land of Eretz Yisrael, and you'll be able to have success there. Al tiroto, kivyatcha natati oto. Do not fear these other nations, for I will give them over to you. Sichon melech Amori, it doesn't matter what king it is, no matter what king, what giant is up against you, whatever foe, enemy, you will be able to conquer them, as long as you have that key of al tira, and you have this emunah b'Hashem. Hashem will do the rest. You'll put in your effort in the fight and the battles, and Hashem will guarantee the victory. Okay, now the rest of the wars are listed over here that Bnei Yisrael had in the Midbar, now at the end of the 40 years, and now we can continue to the end over here. The parak is almost coming to an end. As the last line is actually Parshat Devarim before going to Parshat Va'etchanan, and once again, the repetition, Lo tira'u, ki Hashem lokechem hu hanilcham lachem. Hashem will figuratively win the wars and wage the battles for you. All you have to do is follow his ways. And that is, as a whole, what we see in Parshat Devarim. Al tira val techat is a central message. Bnei Yisrael is told not to fear, as long as they act properly in the eyes of Hashem. Like we were saying before, Sefer Devarim starts Shabbos before Tisha B'Av to try and show this message as well, of being able to take to heart this idea of acting properly and analyzing our ways. And only then could we really become this full mindset of Holech im Hashem, to go with God in all your ways. And we're going to continue a little bit looking at this week's Parsha, and then we'll conclude. For this third part, we'll look at Parsha Va'etchanan, where it starts off and Moshe is davening to Hashem. Moshe wishes to enter the land himself. A couple psukim over here, not our essential focus for this year itself, but interesting nonetheless. And Moshe continues to daven. And now it shows it's the next transference, or it's the transferring of power, of leadership from Moshe to Yeshua, from the first generation that left Mitzrayim to the next generation, their children, their offspring, led by Yeshua and Kalev. So Hashem is telling Moshe is describing how Yeshua is supposed to be machzik, and he's supposed to be stronger, and he is being made stronger. Yeshua will lead the nation. He will lead you to this land that you see from across the border of the Yarden. Bnei Yisrael is in Arvot Moav, and they are seeing into the land of Eretz Yisrael. And they now have this guarantee. Yeshua will lead them if they act properly, and the transference of power, of leadership, of the next generation, Moshe to Yeshua, and that is where Sefer Devarim is leaving Bnei Yisrael with his ideal message. And he continues. The rest of Sefer Devarim, or this next couple of prakim, are going to be focusing on specific mitzvot that Bnei Yisrael can do. Now that they have this proper mindset of al-tira, of being with Hashem, they also have to have additional commandments, where we see in the next prakim in Vet Hanan are going to be discussing very much so our relationship with Hashem. And these mitzvot are mitzvot we see every day. We're going to see Kriyat Shema shows up. So first we will see just the beginning of this parak. It starts off, Ata Yisrael, now, all of Eretz of Bnei Yisrael, Shema l'chukim ve'al mishpatim, listen to these laws, Asher nochim elamed etchem, la'asot l'man tichyu, once again, b'charta b'chayim, v'vatem v'yirashtem et haaretz. And then you'll be able to fully conquer a land. Asher Hashem Elokei avotechem u'tin lachem. Follow the laws, and you will be met with no troubles. You will be able to conquer the land. U'shmartem ba'asitem, all these different mitzvot. And you can list them, you can go through this psukim in detail, they're very much interesting. And we're going to finish off the section discussing more and more mitzvot and different discussions about mishpatim. And Parak K starts off introduction, and it's going to lead us into the Sefer Devarim. Parak K, Pasuk Vav, it's a reinstating of the Sefer Devarim, and Bnei Yisrael is made aware of all these commandments, and it's reinstating to them the importance of following Hashem. And this message has to be told over by Moshe to Bnei Yisrael. And now that they have this mindset, they can reinforce it by showing the positive mitzvot that they could do. You can read through the Sefer Devarim over here, and it's all showing this message to Bnei Yisrael. All these things, as Devarim ha'eleh, Diber Hashem al kol kalchem bahar, as they are told Bahar Sinai, mitoch ha'esh ha'anan, within the fire, the arafel, kol gadol, v'lo yasaf, v'echtavim al shnei lechot abanim, v'yitzneim elai. Moshe is saying, this is all given to me by Bahar Sinai and all the miracles, and now it is being retold over for the purpose of showing Bnei Yisrael's message. All right. Now, one more thing we're going to focus on in Parshat Vet Hanan. In Parak Vav, it just discusses Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and the first parak of Kriyat Shema. And once again, we're showing these positive mitzvot have to be shown by Moshe to Bnei Yisrael, so that they could be able to improve their relationship towards Hashem. And that's the key point. I'm going to almost say this again just to conclude, just to wrap up things. Bnei Yisrael, they're about to enter into Eretz Yisrael, and the new generation is entering into the land. There's new leadership. They have to reinstate these ideas. They have to restate them. They have to be reinforced. And this idea of reinforcing is really geared towards Bnei Yisrael's relationship towards the Kadosh Baruch Hu, towards Hashem. They need to have this reinforcement to be able to strengthen their relationship. And this strengthening of relationship is very much tying into the time we are in now. We are entering into the end of 3 weeks, into Tisha B'Av, into Parshat Vet Hanan and the rest of Sefer Devarim. But this idea of being within the 3 weeks, it's a period of time where we're able to look at our actions and we're able to see where we're heading. And overall, a big idea, a big part of Tisha B'Av and the 3 weeks itself is analyzing these different aspects, seeing where we are going, and having this guidance. If we have the proper guidance, if we follow what is laid out in the Torah, and what we can do to improve our relationship with Hashem in all different areas, chasadim, whatever it may be, then we are guaranteed to have this idea of being almost to have kivush haaretz, to be able to conquer the land, whatever that land may be, whatever challenges we may have, we are given this assurance. And Bnei Israel has to have this idea. It's Hashem Elokecha Tira, V'oto Tavod, V'shmo Tishaveya. They have to, in a sense, this is a little bit different, but Bnei Israel is told to have this Al-Tira with regard to the other nations. They will be able to conquer them. They will not have any trouble in their battles if they follow Hashem. And during this period of the 3 weeks, we should really try and focus and see how we could really connect with this process of improving our relationship with Hashem, being able to fully, eventually, come closer to Hashem, and all of Klal Yisrael should eventually, and hopefully soon, reach this ultimate point of clarity that we see Moshe telling over within Sefer Devarim, and hopefully we'll be able to continue with more chabur like this, discussing Sefer Devarim, central ideas, and everyone should have a great, and hopefully we'll have a Tisha B'Av where it will become a true Moed, a true holiday, and we will all be celebrating in Yerushalayim soon. Thank you everyone very much. Enjoy.